Hey guys, it's the WalterFootball.com After Dark show for February 11, 2024. It's Super Bowl Sunday. The Super Bowl's finally here. The game we've all been waiting for this entire year. 49ers Chiefs, very anticipated matchup, as Tom, I'm sure, would agree. I am joined once again by Quacky T. Tom, how are you on this Super Bowl Sunday?
I'm doing well, Walt. You know, right in backstage there in the green room, I was just telling Walt that no one can appreciate the laments about this season as much as he is, as much as he can. So so unfortunately, as a result, he has to and also as my friend of long standing has to be the sounding board at times for me lamenting. I just I guess I'll feel differently tomorrow once the game starts, but I can't remember not being being like this unenthusiastic about a game. But hopefully it's a good game, and I change my tune by the time the game rolls around tomorrow. But I'm excited to talk some DFS with you tonight at least.
Yeah, I can't remember the last time I was less enthusiastic about watching a Super Bowl. Just because these weren't the two best teams in the regular season. Well, you could say the Niners were once upon a time when they clobbered Dallas, but then when they got smoked by Baltimore on Christmas, kind of showed some of the cracks in the foundation, and then they barely scraped by Green Bay and Detroit, and both teams could have easily won that game. I think we'd be feeling a lot differently about this game if this were the Packers or the Lions against the Chiefs, and then of course you have the Chiefs who kind of just floundered their way during the regular season. They lost to the Raiders on Christmas in embarrassing fashion. I never in a million years that I think they could go to the Super Bowl, which I guess was a little foolish because Patrick Mahomes could do whatever he wants. But it's Chiefs and 49ers. Can't wait.
Yeah, I'll end up enjoying it. Hey, happy Super Bowl to you there, too, Gerald. Thanks for joining.
Yeah, Patrick says, who do you think should do the halftime show tomorrow? Me personally, I'd love Metallica or Weird Al. Nothing will top the Prince halftime show, though. I think you get a Prince hologram or something like that. I feel like they're pretty close to doing that. And by that measure, they could probably get the Beatles or something, which would be pretty cool. But yeah, Metallica would be awesome. I'm a big Metallica fan. I think if you look at my iTunes list, I think I have more songs by Metallica in there than any other band, but I'm not quite sure, but it's definitely up there. So I'm not a huge halftime show aficionado anyway, but you might as well have good music if you have music.
Yeah, I'm not into the halftime show scene at all either. I actually won't ever watch it, but I don't know if this is what I think to be on some level obscure knowledge. The Super Bowl 26 halftime show, it wasn't. It was I believe it would have been 26. The Bills and Giants, the famous Scott Norwood miss wide right. The halftime show, it was this Disney spectacular. They had Mickey Mouse out there and 1,000 kids parading around, but it never aired on TV except on some select in some small local or I don't know select locations, I guess, because it was coverage of what was going on at the Desert Storm at the time, or was it Desert Shield? I can't remember. Desert Shield maybe, or Iraqi. I can't remember. But they had footage of that in lieu of the halftime show because that was that was going on at the time. But if you look it up, it was it's a pretty they brought Warren Moon out there, and it was like a parade of 10,000 Disney mascots and and kids. It's one of the most obscure halftime shows that was ever produced, and nobody got to see it. But you should look it up.
Wow, it's like the Heidi Bowl almost. No one got to see that. Yeah. It's kind of interesting. Kind of made me think of something today. I was very proud of my son who just turned 2 last month. We're just in my bedroom and all me, him, and my wife and my daughter. And he points to the TV on our dresser and he goes TV. And my wife's like, "Oh, do you want to watch something?" He goes, "Football."
Oh, that's awesome.
I know, it's pretty cool. So I was like, yeah, I was like tomorrow football. So
yeah,
he won't get to watch the full game because his bedtime's 8:00. So he'll get to watch the first quarter and a half, I'm sure.
Well, it sounds like your son is more enthusiastic about the game than we are.
I know. We should have him on as a guest, and maybe he could get this $1 billion lineup together.
That's so cool, though, man. That's awesome.
Yeah, Patrick saying they actually did a Prince hologram during Justin Timberlake's halftime show. That's right, they did. But I feel like they could do better now. And yeah, I mean, why not just stop there? Like I said, get the Beatles on there, get Elvis on there. That'd be pretty awesome. So yeah, anyway, please hit like, subscribe, comment below, share this video, visit the link in the description for the merch store. All that mean a lot to us. Please hit subscribe. We're almost at 4,000 subs, and please consider super chats. We had 2 great super chats last time on Thursday. As I keep repeating this, like, we make almost nothing on YouTube ads, like $1.50 at most per video. So like any real like super chat would just be a huge boost, like a big multiplier on what we earn. So if you want to keep the show going, like, please consider that. Gerald saying my number on games pick'em on Kansas City +2. Okay, yeah. So let's do an update to our selections. We're gonna do that. I'm gonna give you another prop that I'm betting, with a complete nonsense prop that I am betting. You're gonna be like, why are you doing this? And then I'll explain. I want to share a prop that Eitan Shander shared with me on the Oddshopper channel. That we recorded a video. It should be out now, or maybe tomorrow morning. And then we're going to get into some DFS content, and I have some data I want to share with you. I scraped data from 102 showdown slates. So I'm going to break that down and then talk about the players and whatnot, and give you ownership projections. And yeah, we'll get to all that. But yeah, right now the line is down to 2 or 1.5. It's 1.5 on FanDuel and Circa. It's 2 in a lot of other places. You can, if you don't want to play the VIG, it's Chiefs +1 +100 on Bookmaker. I think I would go that route, because 2 is not a key number by any stretch of the imagination. So yeah, that is my pick right now. The only injury we have is Joe Tooney's out, but they have a good back. The Chiefs have a good backup for him. Rashee Rice, we talked about him. He was downgraded to limited on Thursday, but he was full on Friday, and he doesn't have an injury designation. So yeah, pretty clean injury report outside of Tooney. I'm still on the Chiefs for 3 units. How do you feel about this game? Are you still on the Chiefs as well?
I'm still on the Chiefs as well. Nothing's really changed for me. Like I was saying before, if you didn't see the Thursday show, I think the 49ers could have easily lost both games. They haven't been, while they've obviously been a very strong team, they haven't shown us that they've been the juggernaut as far as really crushing teams that they should have, like they do most years in the last handful of years. I'm going to go with the experience, just because they've really needed to play catch up in both of their playoff games against the Packers and the Lions. I'm going to go with the Chiefs and the experience, even though I'm surprised to see both teams here. So yeah, nothing's changing for me.
Okay, fair enough. Joe says, I like Chris Jones over half a sack, favorite prop. Yeah, I like that. I like that as well. It's a good one. I don't know what VIG is available, but it makes sense because the Niners have a weak interior offensive line. Obviously, Trent Williams is one of the best left tackles of our generation, maybe of all time. He's a first ballot Hall of Famer. But the interior blocking for the Niners is very weak, and that's an area where Chris Jones could dominate. As I said before, I like Chris Jones to an MVP. He was 140 to 1 on Tuesday. He got bet down to 110 to 1. Wow. So someone likes that, so at least
probably because of your recommendation, no doubt.
Yeah, I'm sure. Someone saw it, and some high rollers saw it and hammered it, I'm sure.
Yeah, exactly.
The other one I really liked. So I had 2 other MVP picks. One was Travis Kelce at 17 to 1 on FanDuel. That's been bet down as well to 14 to 1. And then Isaiah Pacheco 35 to 1. I'm not sure what that number is on FanDuel at the moment, but I know that it was 25 to 1 on DraftKings. Usually FanDuel has the best odds for futures and whatnot. FanDuel is also the place where I like to bet home run props during the baseball season. I'm going to try to post those on the site as well. But it's going to be difficult to get them live. So yeah, Pacheco's down to 25 to 1 as well. So like that's been bet down a lot too. Like 35 to 1 to 25 to 1 is pretty substantial. So yeah, I still like them. Kelsey's still my favorite at 14 to 1. Pacheco, less so, 25 to 1. I'd still bet like a half unit on that. And then let's see, 110 to 1 on Chris Jones. So that's my long shot. So I like where you're going with that, Gerald. Gerald also says Chris Jones most sacks plus 550. Bosa favorite plus 220. Yeah. I like any Chris Jones prop. I'm a big fan of. And Gerald says Mahomes is too tough to sack. Yeah, I like I heard a prop that someone mentioned on the show. Patrick Mahomes to take fewer than 1.5 sacks. Is like he almost never gets sacked in the playoffs. Like he either gets rid of the ball, or gets out of it.
And that's one thing. I mean, that's something he's always been good at. But I think that's pretty obvious. But it's especially like these playoffs. I just remember thinking like the Dolphins, they couldn't get any pressure on him, and it's just like I remember I've noticed that more this postseason than any other. I feel like it's like this guy just never gets sacked. So under 1.5, I really like that too. I didn't really even think about that.
Yeah, I might add that to the site. Cassandra asking, well, did you catch Emmett's gems from yesterday when he was talking about how disappointed he was with the Cowboys this past season? Quote, because to me, I look to my leaders and leaders look to players to be ready and be prepared for the situations in all situations.
Hey, Cassandra, do you have a link to that? Can you DM us on Twitter or something? One of those, the link, if you can find it. I didn't see that at all.
I'd love to listen to that. I didn't hear that. So I look forward to hearing that. Yeah.
Cassandra, good looking out. We appreciate it.
Nothing will beat the tweet that Emmett put out after Muhammad Ali died. He said, float like a bee, sting like a butterfly. Try to quote Muhammad Ali. It's like one thing to speak incorrectly, like on camera, sometimes that's could be difficult, but to write it out and then to hit send, when you could have just proofread it and just wait a second, a butterfly doesn't sting. Let me switch these words around.
Yeah. And also the magnitude of writing that about one of the greatest sports legends of all time to just oh man, that was a bad one.
Yeah,
I remember I told you this before, but I don't think I mentioned it on the show. One time they had Emmitt Smith announce the start of the World Series of Poker main event. They say shuffle up and deal. So they bring Emmitt Smith and he goes, "Let's shuffle up and play."
Nice.
And the comment, who's not Mike Sexton? I can't
Millman, Chad Millman, right?
Yeah. Wait, who did you say?
Chad Millman.
Yeah, I think that's who it is. I think you're right. But he goes, Emmett may have stumbled there, but he didn't too much in his career. It's like, dude, shuffle up and deal. Let's shuffle up and play. It's like, come on, man. How do you mess that up? You had one job. You got to say one sentence and we're telling you what it is.
Yeah.
I love it, man. I love it.
I love when he got inducted to the Hall of Fame, he was interviewed by Al Michaels in the booth during the preseason game. And Al's like, hey, Emmett, he's like, thanks for coming on. And Emmett's like, thanks, Mike.
Oh yeah, I love it. Was good. I remember he called Al Harris we called him Al Jackson.
Al Johnson.
Or was it Al Johnson?
Johnson, yeah.
Whenever he just he couldn't remember the name, it seemed like Johnson or Jackson was just the default that's a common name. It was the highest percentage chance of being right here.
Yeah, you go with Jackson Johnson Williams. You're bound to get something correct, right?
Al Johnson. Yeah. Oh, geez. Anyhow.
Z-Man asking, who's your favorite player to use as captain in the showdown? Yeah, we're going to get to all that. I think, top of my head, I think Kelsey or Pacheco. I think I would go that route. Obviously, if you can somehow find a way to get McCaffrey into your lineup as captain, that would be ideal. The problem, though, is if you put McCaffrey in your lineup, you're going to have to go dumpster diving, and I don't like too much in the dumpster this week. Usually Kenny and I will find a couple of gems, most famously the spicy meatball, the tight end Davis Allen from week 18, the Rams tight end, who almost won me $60,000 if I made a 2v2 switch that I was thinking about. I mean, we'll get to it, but I really don't like anyone at the bottom. So if you can avoid using guys at the bottom, then I would do that. But if you play McCaffrey, you're going to have to go that route.
Yeah. And I have a lineup here that I want to build here on the show. So I'm looking forward to it. I think we got some good stuff here for you, Z-Man. But with that said, just like I said last time, I'm not any DFS hockey. I'm pretty decent at, but DFS football, I wouldn't say necessarily follow, what I do. I have my moments, but I'm not, claiming to be any sort of pro here.
Well, you've sent me some good lineups that you've done this season, so don't sell yourself too short. So I look forward to breaking this down with you. Northwest Seahawks fan saying I like C-Mac for MVP if the Niners win. I think he's the favorite. The problem is that you're not getting a good number with him. If the Niners win, I think a route I would go is Deebo Samuel, because he can get there without Brock Purdy. Whereas like if Brandon Ayuk scores 2 touchdowns, Brock Purdy's throwing those 2 touchdowns. If Deebo Samuel could score 2 touchdowns with Brock Purdy only throwing once to him. So I like that. It was I don't want to compare Deebo Samuel to T Higgins. But like that Rams Bengals Super Bowl where like the Bengals had the lead in the third quarter, T Higgins caught a touchdown pass from a running back, and then he caught that long touchdown pass in the third quarter. And I had a long bet on Higgins to win MVP. I think it was like 60-1. And like when he caught that long touchdown pass, I'm like, oh my god, like Higgins is going to win MVP. This is great. Unfortunately, the Rams came back and won, but at the time, Higgins was MVP. So if you can find those guys who can score touchdowns without the quarterback, you know, obviously you have the running backs. But yeah, I mean, Debo's one of them for sure. Obviously, McCaffrey and Pacheco are the other two. What is the prop for Purdy interceptions? It is I have it here. Purdy over a half an interception -120 at BetMGM. He's been so lucky to get away with a lot of interceptions in the playoffs. Like the Packers dropped 2, the Lions had the 1 bounce off the helmet. I think he's due to throw some interception in this game. Wouldn't surprise me if he threw 2 picks. But I think he's definitely going to get 1.
I agree with that too, though. I would say -120. That seems really easy to me. I think I like the over. I like the over a lot. That almost seems too easy to me. So, but that's the only thing that would maybe hold me back from that. I think that I thought that it was going to be more like -150 or -160, to be honest, based on I'm pulling that number out of thin air based on the eye test here. But yeah, I like that a lot as well.
Yeah. Cassandra asking, what about McKinnon for $300? I know nothing about DFS, but I saw that price earlier after he was called up for Tooney. The problem is, like, I don't know how healthy he is. Like, he's coming off a groin injury. He may not be able to do much. Maybe he gets like a few touches here and there, but I'm not expecting a lot from him. If he were healthy, I would definitely like him for 300. But it's a tough ask for him to do much, and like he may see like 2 snaps, like so you might just get a 0, which honestly like might be good enough. Like given the salaries at the at the positions, like if you play all the top guys and have McKinnon in there and he gets 1 fantasy point for you, that might be enough. So I think it's worth considering, but I'm not going to be playing him.
Yeah, I don't know that I will be either, but I've got some other tricks up my sleeve for the lineup, so stay tuned.
Speaking of tricks up my sleeve, I have this bet I'm making, and like you're gonna be like, why the hell are you doing this? But I'll explain. So I'm betting the coin toss. You're like, why? What are you doing? Why are you throwing money away? So usually the vig for the coin toss is like, well, sometimes it used to be like -110, which is ridiculous. I saw FanDuel had -104. DraftKings has +100 for the coin toss, which is like the most bizarre thing I've ever seen, because that's better than roulette. Like roulette, you have 0 and 00. So you can't you're not 50-50 to hit on black or red. With this is a true 50-50 bet. So it's not like great. It's not great or anything, but if you're going to if you ever play roulette in your life, like these are better odds. The coin flip, it's true 50-50. You get 50-50 odds. Like it's clean. Yeah. I wouldn't go wild with it, but like Aton on the Odd Shopper show talked me into it. I bet $25 on heads. And my thinking is that like everyone says tails never fails. So everyone's going to want to bet tails. I'm the contrarian. I'm going to say heads.
Yeah. I'm the same, because I was on team tails before it was cool, Oh, yeah. I'm talking decades ago, and now it's come back around. So I'm back on team heads. So I support it. I don't think I'll take it myself, but I like it for sure. Wow, +100. That is interesting.
Yeah, I've seen -101 before, and I still wouldn't do that. Like I don't play roulette, but like I said, if you ever play roulette, like there's no reason not to do this, because it's clean 50-50, which is exactly what it is. Like usually the house will give itself an advantage, like with the 0 and 00 or the vig and like for straight bets for sports. But here it's 50-50. So Brandon's saying I always saw Tommy being a tails kind of guy.
Yeah. What's up, Brandon? Thanks for joining, buddy. I appreciate you, man.
I was also on team tails too back in the day, because I was like, I've always been a contrarian, and like
Same.
I always thought like people would always choose heads. Like, oh, I'll choose tails. But like now everyone's choosing tails, so I'll choose heads. Kind of,
Yeah.
Once everyone goes back to heads, I'll be on tails again.
You and I are similar in a lot of ways already, but I'm not surprised to hear you report that because I've been feeling the exact same way. I was on Team Tails forever.
Yeah,
and exactly what you said.
Slew says, tough game for Purdy. Parlay play over half an interception, under 1.5 touchdown passes, plus 260 at Bet365. Yeah, I like that a lot. I like both. I think that both will hit. Plus 260 seems pretty good. I can't Bet365. I'd have to go to New Jersey, which isn't too far. I go to Jersey every week to enter in Rainmakers lineups. So it's like a 20-minute drive for me. So and what I do is like I park at the Trenton Thunder Stadium because like I know there are like cameras there and stuff like that, so I won't be mugged or anything. Because like in New Jersey, like you're always at risk for that, like no matter where you are in New Jersey. So
why don't you just go to like an IHOP or something?
Well, I usually go at night. I don't know. Like, I mean, I don't even know where one is either. It's so close. It's like right over the bridge. Like if you use like Google Maps, it'll be like, "Welcome to New Jersey," and then like the Trenton Thunder Stadium's like right there, like on the right. Okay. So it's like the closest thing. And like it's secluded. Like I don't know, just like I'm just in my car for like an hour and a half, like entering lineups. It's the stupidest thing in the world that you can't do that in PA.
I know. Yeah, PA is funny like that though.
So. Yeah, and like Bet365 is not legal in PA either. It's legal only in like 9 states, but they have great odds. So congrats on being able to use them. Another prop that Eitan pointed out to me, I like this one. I want to get your thoughts on it. So these are odds that a running back will have 8 or more carries in 2 quarters each. For McCaffrey, it's like 45-1, and for Pacheco, it's 80-1. That they'll have 8 carries plus in 2 quarters.
Like two consecutive quarters, or it could be like first and fourth, or
it could be first and fourth. Though like McCaffrey will have like 8 carries, then like 4, then 8. That'll hit. You know, same thing with Pacheco. So yeah, like the odds for McCaffrey are 45-1. Pacheco's 80-1. I think that I told Eitan this. I'm like the odds of hitting both are extremely low because the team that is winning is going to be giving the ball to the running backs, but the teams that is losing is not going to be able to run the ball. So, you know, I think the teams that's winning has a decent chance of that hitting. And I like the odds on that are like pretty incredible. I don't know, like I'd have to like break it down like how often that hits, but it seems like if the Chiefs have the lead, like they're just going to give the ball to Pacheco a lot. So I think there's a decent chance of that hitting.
I think so too. I mean, especially at those. I mean, that sounds like something that I would think would be more like. And I'm only saying this because I'm surprised to hear. What'd you say, 80-1? I would have thought it would be more like 30-1 or something like that.
Yeah.
So it seems like the value's there. You know, based on my my prior knowledge of such props. Because Cassandra, doubt that a Jersey IHOP is.
He's right.
That's true. That's good.
There's nowhere in New Jersey that's safe except for baseball stadiums that have security cameras. So, and always also whenever I like as soon as I cross into New Jersey, it smells no matter what. Like I thought, like the first time I did it, I was like, oh, this is weird. Second time, like, oh, it smells again. No joke. As soon as it says like enter, like welcome to New Jersey, it like reeks. It's horrible. I don't get it.
The first time you shrugged it off thinking it could be a one-off situation, then you realized it was permanent. I really haven't spent a whole lot of time in New Jersey in my life other than when I lived in Westchester though. I mean, some of my fraternity brothers, they used to get free rooms in Atlantic City all the time, so I would frequent Atlantic City with them sometimes. But other than that, like I never really spent enough time in Jersey, I guess, to notice. But
I think the beach towns are different, just because like the smell of the ocean to mask anything. But like if you're like inland New Jersey, like it is rancid smells. I don't know what's going on there, but I'm not surprised at all. So
I'll have to pay him a visit and discover for myself, I guess.
I wouldn't recommend it, but you can always try this.
Oh man.
All right, let's get to DraftKings here. And I want to give you guys some data that I pulled. I pulled 102. Don't ask why 102. I miscounted. I thought it was 100 and I got 102. So 102 showdown slates. And I wanted to get the data on how these went. So I looked at captains. I looked at how many times kickers and defenses were in the flex, and I looked at stacks. So forgive me for a few minutes here with like, so if you find this boring data, you should, probably should not listen to showdown stuff. But so anyway, so captains. All right. So out of 102 results, the losing quarterback was the captain 6 times. Losing running back was 11 times. A losing receiver 15 times. Losing tight end twice. A losing kicker once. Winning defense 7 times. So notice no losing defense. Winning quarterback 10 times. Winning running back 25 times. Winning receiver 24 times. Winning tight end once. So out of 102 results, the winning team had a representative at captain 60 times. The losing team had a representative at captain 30 was it 42 times. I don't know why it's not adding up here. So like I noticed that obviously running back or receiver more often. The winning running back 25 was the most, winning receiver 24, then losing receiver 15, losing running back 11. So generally you want to have running back receiver at captain unless you have superstar tight ends, which we have here. Not every team has superstar tight ends like Kittle and Kelsey. So I think they kind of count as receivers. So that's the captain breakdown for kickers and defenses. So the winning kicker was in the winning lineup. Or the kicker on the winning team was in the winning lineup 33 times. The defense of the winning team was in the winning lineup 42 times. The losing kicker was in the lineup 9 times. The losing defense was in 7 times. A kicker and a defense were in the same winning lineup 16 times out of 102. So there's that. And then stacks. So we're talking about like 5 players from the winning team, 1 player from the losing team. It's 22 out of 102. 4 players from the winning team, two players from the losing team was 35. 3 and 3 stack was 30 times. 2 players from the winning team, 4 players from the losing team was 14. And then 1 player from the winning team, 5 players from the losing team was only once. So the takeaway there is from all of that is you should probably play a running back, receiver, tight end at captain. And probably from the winning team, but doesn't have to be. You should have a kicker or a defense in your lineup. Kicker or defense from the winning team was 75 out of 102 times. Kicker or defense in general, even for winner or losing team, 91 out of 102 times. So that is quite.
Say that one again. 91 out of 102 times.
91 out of 102. A kicker or a defense was in the winning lineup.
Yeah.
And you know what? Sorry. That kind of overlaps because sometimes there'd be winning kicker, winning defense. So I'm sorry that's wrong. I probably should not have said that. But anyway, so winning kicker or winning defense was in the lineup 75 out of 102 times. So
okay. I mean that's still very significant,
right? So you want to have a winning kicker or winning defense in your lineup. So if you think the Chiefs are going to win, you should probably have their defense or their kicker, or vice versa. If you think the Niners are going to win, you should probably have their kicker or defense. And also with their stack, if you think the Chiefs are going to win, you should have at least 3 Chiefs in your lineup. Probably 4. 4 is probably the best, but you could have 5. And also, Niners. If you think the Niners are going to win, you should have at least 3 or 4 Niners in your lineup. So.
Yeah, well, that bodes well for me, and because I sent you a lineup earlier that has the defense in it, and I like playing defenses, especially sometimes. I've done, I've come very close on some regular season showdowns. Maybe captaining a defense that maybe you didn't think that team was going. Maybe the public didn't think that team was going to win. That can, because they're going to be low owned first off, and they're going to be even lower owned in the captain spot. And then if they pop off a little bit, that's definitely dragged me some cashes before. So I'm not saying that you should captain either defense necessarily here, but I sent you a lineup earlier with Chiefs defense, who I do like in this game.
But sorry, I misspoke. I deleted the winning defense there. So for winning captain, it was 67 times, not 60. And so for the losing team, it was the captain 35 times. So probably like 2/3 of the time, the captain is going to be from the winning team, but not always. So anyway, where you're talking about like having a defensive captain, it hit 7 out of 102 times, which like doesn't sound like a lot. It's slightly less than 7%, but how often is a defense going to be a captain? Maybe probably less than that, but like it really depends. Like I think that if you have like a chalky defense, if say you have like a lopsided matchup, if this were like Niners, I don't know, Cardinals, for example, without Kyler Murray, like the beginning of the season, like if this were that matchup hypothetically, if it is showdown slate, I feel like the Niners defense would be captain a lot. And like having them as your captain would be bad for leverage. But like if you have like a game like this, if you have Chiefs defensive captain, if you think the Chiefs are going to win, like I don't think that's terrible, because what if they have a pick six or 2 defensive touchdowns? Like suddenly, like that's going to look great. So I don't think that's the worst thing you can do. Like I would not put a kicker captain, but defense you could do it.
No, agreed. Real quick, Seahawks fan Jim Kelly.
The question is, has any starting quarterback ever missed time in the Super Bowl because of an injury sustained in the Super Bowl? Super Bowl III, the Colts quarterback Earl Morrall got hurt, didn't he? That I can remember.
Yeah, Jim Kelly is the last one that I think it was when they played the Cowboys the first time, I believe.
Yeah,
he got hurt when Frank Reich came in.
And it looked like Mahomes was going to miss time last year. Remember, he got hurt.
Yeah, right.
So, but I don't know what happened at halftime, but it definitely worked. Paul says it's going to be interesting how the refs control the game. It's kind of depressing to think about that. Like the refs shouldn't be in control, but sadly, I think you're correct. These refs can't help themselves sometimes. Although the head official's Bill Vinovich, like I can't remember a bad Vinovich game. Like he doesn't stand out as a bad ref. There have been some bad ones, but hopefully it's a clean game. Brandon asking, I'm thinking of this for my 5-player parlay. Can you guys offer your thoughts? Mahomes over 1.5 touchdowns, Kelsey over 19.5 quarter 1 yards, Pacheco over 69.5 yards, Deebo Samuel over 58.5, McCaffrey over half a touchdown. I mean, I like those individually. Like the odds of all those hitting are, I think they're kind of low, but like they could happen. I think that you're kind of I feel like it's a good correlation, because like Mahomes could get going, and then like at the end of the game, Pacheco gets the yards, and Deebo gets receiving yards in garbage time or catch up mode, and McCaffrey is always live to score touchdowns. So like I don't think there's no conflicts there or anything like that. Like this guy I know, he's a friend of the family. Like we were watching, he was over my parents' house for Thanksgiving a couple years ago. It was the Patriots Vikings Thanksgiving game, and he's like, hey, I have this parlay going. I'm like, what is it? He's like I've Justin Jefferson over receiving yards, I've Kirk Cousins over receiving yards, I've Dalvin Cook over rushing yards. I'm like, dude, that's like a conflict there, because like if Jefferson's getting there on receiving yards, like Cook is probably not getting there on rushing yards. And he's like, oh, that makes sense, So like, there's nothing there, nothing here that is a conflict, but like any 5-game or 5-player parlay is going to be tough to hit, but I don't see anything wrong with this.
The one leg of that I like the least there. Hang on, let me see it again. Okay, thanks, Walt. The one leg that I like the least there, Brandon, is probably Kelsey over 19.5 quarter 1 yards. And let's say you wanted to hedge against that, then maybe hedge the 49ers to receive the opening kickoff, because here's a way that could not happen. If the 49ers receive the opening kickoff, they engineer a long drive, then the Chiefs end up going 3 and out, and all of a sudden, they hardly possess the ball, and for like something like that could happen, So that's the only one to me that sticks out as that could, or it could be the first play of the game. It's a 25, you know what I mean? So it just something to think about there, because Kelsey could obviously have a big game, but that's a scenario. That would be the scenario that I would be most concerned about for a 5 leg. But again, like Walt said, it's individually, all of them. obviously 5-leggers are tough.
Yeah, if you bet all those individually, like you probably get like 3-2 and 4-1. That's like the most likely outcome, I think. But you could go 5-0. It's just it's always tough to do that, to hit a 5-leg parlay. Sue says BetMGM has a max $10 58% live odds boost, so I'll be looking for a Quacky Vision posted on X at some point during the game.
Yeah, if I get any quacky feelings, they'll be out there. They'll be out there.
Okay.
I've always got something up my sleeve.
Yeah. All right, let's get to DFS. You have McCaffrey. He's the highest price player on this slate. 18,000 for captain, 12,000 for flex. I said this before. If you have him at captain, if you have him in your lineup, but especially at captain, you're really going to have to go dumpster diving. So I think it's tough to put him in a captain. It can be done though, and we'll build a lineup that kind of that showcases that. But if you're building a lineup, like McCaffrey's obviously the player who sticks out the most. Are you looking to get him in your lineup, or are you looking to fade him? Because I think there is some merit to fading him. I don't know. I always have Kenny guess. I'm looking at stochastic ownership, which is the most accurate ownership online. How highly owned do you think McCaffrey is going to be overall?
It's got to be at least, and this is a conservative estimate. I'm going to say 95 or 90%. 90%. That's a conservative estimate.
Okay, stochastic has him at 67%. 17% at captain, 50% in the flex. I thought it would be higher. I thought it'd be in the 70s myself. I thought
it would be really high.
He was like 70% owned on the conference championship slate. And I just think think that like here he's just so expensive that it's gonna be tough to put him in.
I guess that's true.
I think the lack of like lesser options makes it difficult.
I guess my guess there further proves my point that you should take my DFS advice with a grain of salt. So I'm just with a body like this, you don't get the brains with it. So go ahead, Walt. I'm sorry, man.
No, I just think that like there's some like merit to fading him, even though he's been great, and if he scores 30 points, you're going to feel bad, but like he was not in the winning lineup in that conference championship like contest. He was second place had him, first place did not. And even though he had 29 fantasy points, he did not get there. So like even like I think he has to get into the 30s based on his salary, and like he could definitely do it. And really it depends on like what else happens here. If they're like some of these other guys, if they get close to him, like Adebo or Ayuk, Pacheco, Rice, Kittle, like if they score close to him, they're gonna price him out of the winning lineup. So I think that like you kind of have to ask yourself if you want to play McCaffrey or not. Like knowing the 67% projected ownership, you have to think, what are the odds that McCaffrey is in the winning lineup? If you do some thinking and maybe some research and you come to the conclusion that's like he's probably 50-50 to be in the winning lineup, then you probably want to fade him. But if you think that like there's like a 90% chance he's winning the lineup, then you should have him in your lineup. So that's where I'm going with it. Like, are you going to play McCaffrey?
Yeah, well, I was just going to say too. Interesting you say that, because the first lineup I want to build here on the show is without him. But I also think maybe there's a lot of merit to what you're saying for sure, and I definitely agree. But then I think there's a couple, there's some dumpster diver players that might be, that where you can fit him in, where if they have a decent game, he could certainly be in it too. There's maybe a high ceiling, I'll say to more of the really lower price players, I think, than usual. But but the first lineup I want to pitch to you here does not have McCaffrey in it. So
okay, Mahomes 10-6. He has not been impressive fantasy wise. 15, 18 and a half, 18 and a half, 13, 17.7. The last time he had more than 20 was week 15 against the Patriots. The last time he had more than 21 was week 7 against the Chargers. It's been a long time. This is not the same Mahomes we're used to. Not to say, it's not saying that he's playing poorly. He's actually playing really well. It's like he's dragged this team kicking and screaming to the Super Bowl. Like they've dropped so many passes. The receivers have run bad routes. The tackles at times have struggled. But Mahomes has just gotten them there. He's just been really impressive overall, but statistically not so. So it's going to be tough for me to pay up for this. And then I'll tell you the ownership, unless you want to guess it. Do you want to guess it, or should I just say it?
Let's not embarrass me again. Let's keep it going.
Okay. Well, let me give you this: over under 50%. What do you think?
I guess I'll say under. Actually,
it's pretty close to 50. It's 52.7%.
Okay.
So like that seems high. You know, I think it's likely that more often than not he's not going to be in the winning lineup. So I'm kind of reluctant to play him. I think he's going to be highly owned because like 50.52% is like I feel like highly owned for him. Just because of the name recognition. You know, people like will be playing DraftKings for the first time in a while or first time ever because it's Super Bowl. They'll see Mahomes, they'll be like, oh, I got to get Mahomes in there. It's kind of like whenever my dad will play a showdown lineup, like he's not gonna be playing the showdown, but like I imagine if he were, like he'd be like, oh, let me get Mahomes in, like someone who doesn't play DraftKings a lot will want to get Mahomes in their lineup, like just not knowing that he hasn't been very good statistically this year. So I think I'm gonna avoid playing him. What about you? What do you think about him?
Well, the lineup without McCaffrey potentially has a minute that I was going to build for you. So, yeah. So this is, no one's a complete failure in life. You can always be used as a bad example. That's me. DFS here. Yeah. I mean, I definitely think there's merit to what you're saying. You know what? And maybe I'm just making this up. I remember the Chiefs and Bucks Super Bowl just a few years ago. Because if I remember correctly, Gronk hadn't really been doing all that much in fantasy, and I remember thinking like I should captain Gronk in the Super Bowl, or like play him, like even though he hasn't had that much production. And he had 2 touchdowns, I think it was at least 2 touchdowns.
Yeah,
and I just remember thinking it's like I knew it, like he hadn't had a game that big in a long time. So that's like I just think. He's got all the experience too. So like if there were a game for him to break out, even though he's given like no signs, well, I mean he's done all right, but it's not Mahomes like, I guess is the key point here. But if there were a game to do it, it could be this one. He's got plenty of experience and whatnot if you want to go with that narrative. So, but he might make this lineup that I'm going to pitch to you, but we can move some things around too. I'm interested to see what you think. But keep going. Sorry, you're doing the ownership. I apologize.
Yeah. So like the problem with that though is if you've been playing the contrarian route with Mahomes all year, like he hasn't done much, say like since week 12. If you're like, oh, week 16 against the Raiders, I'm gonna play him. Okay, he failed. Week 17, I'm gonna play him here. He failed. Week 19, I'm gonna play him. He failed. I'm gonna play him here. He failed. I'm gonna play him here. He failed. Like. It's just like how many times can you do this? Like,
sure, I get where you're coming from.
It's like gambler's fallacy at this rate. Like,
right.
And the salary is so restrictive, 10-6 for this sort of production. Like, could he get 20, 22, 24? Sure, I see that happening, but like, I don't know. I like this is a good matchup for him. I will say that. Like the Niners play a lot of zone. Mahomes eats up zone. He had a great game against the Ravens, 30-39 for 241, 1 touchdown. Still, those only 15 fantasy points. He's just not getting there because, like, all this offense does is just throw dump-off passes to tight ends. Like, Kelsey, 10-yard pass. Dump off to Pacheco, 8 yards. Like, they have these, like, 8-minute drives where they just move the ball methodically down the field and they score a touchdown or a field goal. And they just eat up a lot of clock. They suck the life out of the game. And they just don't produce pretty stats, like at least the quarterback doesn't. And I want to get to Kelsey, who's next. On the contrary, he has produced some major stats in the playoffs. Like 14.1 at the time was good for him because he was terrible in the regular season. Like he had trouble getting to double digits for a while. Then he had 24.5 and 32.1. He's come alive in the playoffs. Like he dropped so many passes in the regular season. He's been great. He just stopped dropping passes, and I feel like he was just either bored or distracted. Which you can, can't really blame him for being distracted during the regular season. like now he's turned it on during the playoffs, and like this is the Kelsey of old. 11 for 166 at 116 and a touchdown, 5 for 75 and 2 touchdowns. Like I feel like he could have the sort of game. So I am on board for playing Kelsey at 10-2. What are your thoughts about him?
Yeah, I have him in there too, and in the lineup without McCaffrey. Well, potentially. I'll show you when we build it, but we can move some things around. I like the play too, because I he kind of came out of nowhere these last 2 weeks, and kind of what I was just saying. Like I've kind of been expecting Mahomes to do is what Kelsey's going to do. So, or what Kelsey has done rather. So I like to play with him too, and maybe even consider him a captain as well.
Yeah, that's for sure. Brock Purdy's next at 10,000. This is a tough matchup for him. Ever since that Christmas game where he imploded, he hasn't gotten more than 18 fantasy points. And I feel like he got 18 fantasy points here because of the 48 rushing yards, and that's not going to happen again. It's something that Eitan and I talked about as well. He likes the Purdy under rushing yards because like everyone is going to look at 48 because he had a 21-yard carry. And I think his over under for rushing yards in this game is like 13.5. And like people who saw that 21-yard carry, they're like, oh, he could just get there on one carry. Like, so I think the under 13.5 makes sense. But yeah, like he this is a really tough matchup. Chiefs pass defense is no joke. And this is a great matchup for him. Against Detroit, he had 18 fantasy points. In a slightly tougher matchup against the Packers, 15. In a dream matchup against Washington, he had 17. It's gonna be again. This is gonna be tough for me to get to Purdy at 10,000. What are your thoughts on Purdy?
I mean, if you're of the belief that the Chiefs are going to win and like maybe go up quickly, then maybe there's some merit to taking Purdy if you think he's going to be throwing a lot. But I agree. I don't have him in either of my 2 lineups that I have so far. So I think you have a lot of merit to your point. Unless you think like the Chiefs are going to jump out to like 14-0, 17-0, like really quickly, and they're going to be throwing a lot. Yeah. I guess you could argue that, but I don't really have any reason to include him. I don't think.
Yeah, he could get there in garbage time, a la Dak Prescott in the first round. Like Prescott was having a terrible game, but yet he was the winning quarterback that week because he just went nuts in garbage time against the Packers. Over under 50% ownership for Purdy. Projected ownership.
I'll say under.
Under, you're right. 42.9%.
Right. 1 out of 3 ain't bad.
He is projected to be the 6th highest owned player behind McCaffrey, Mahomes, Kelsey, Rashee Rice, Isaiah Pacheco, and then it's Purdy. So 42% is still pretty substantial. It's kind of close to Mahomes. Next player at 9,200.
Fade to make McCaffrey, I think. But
what'd you say?
No, I said Purdy's an easier fade, DFS fade than McCaffrey will be, I think.
Oh yeah, I agree. Brandon says I feel like Purdy will be overly reserved and it won't bode well for him against Kansas City's defense. Yeah, I like Kansas City's defense here. I don't mind playing them on the slate. Stanley, by the way, says his history not on the 49ers side because the team lost twice to the same team in the Super Bowl, such as the Steelers beat the Cowboys twice in the 70s, the Cowboys over Bills twice, and Giants over Patriots twice. So, yeah, I mean, that'll happen until it doesn't. You know what I mean? Like it's like a trend. Like it's a trend until it's not a trend. It's like my thoughts on trends. But I mean, based on history, that works. But like at some point, it's not going to work. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, Deebo Samuel. So like this guy has I think like of all the Chiefs of all the 49ers weapons, he has the best matchup. I think Brandon Ayuk's gonna be covered by L'Jarius Sneed, and so that's going to take him out of the game. George Kittle is playing against the Chiefs defense, which has allowed the 3rd fewest receiving yards to tight ends. But then you have Deebo Samuel, who's not a conventional receiver. He lines up all over the place. And the Chiefs aren't the best tackling team. And so like that could turn like a Deebo Samuel like touch that would normally get like 15 yards could turn into like a 50-yarder. So I think he has definite upside. There is a low floor though, like we see against Packers, 4.4 fantasy points. Now, I mean, he was hurt in that game. But here like against Baltimore, he had 9.4. I think there's a chance that he flops. But like I said, like if I'm playing any Niners skill player outside McCaffrey, it's going to be Debo. 9,200 seems like a good deal. What are your thoughts on Debo?
Yeah, I really like him too. I guess my only hesitation is, is there like how has he been looking? I mean, has he been practicing in full? Just because of that shoulder injury that he had with the Packers. I mean, if he would, in the event, get knocked out or something, then that would, obviously, crush your lineup. So it's okay. He's not even on it.
Yeah, he's not on the injury report. Yeah.
So, all right. Well, in that case, no, I like him too, and I've got him in I think, just in one of my lineups so far. So now, especially not seeing him on the injury report. What did he have an injury status for the last game? I can't even remember now. Every day I get dumber, so you have to chaperone me here.
No, remember we thought he was not going to play, and then he played, and he was great. So
right. Okay, I do remember now. Okay.
Yeah. So Debo 9,200. I'm on board. And the ownership's not bad. It's 38% ownership. Seems pretty reasonable. Debo's going to be, if I'm playing one lineup, Debo's probably going to be in it. Were you going to say something?
Well, no, I'm surprised that he's that low owned. Actually, I thought if you were going to give me the over under 50, I would have said over.
Well, think about it this way: like McCaffrey is 67%. Yeah, Mahomes at 52%. We didn't talk about Kelsey's 49%. Rashee Rice is owned highly as well. I mean, there's only so much ownership that can go around. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
It's
that's true. That's true.
Yeah. The other receiver, Brandon Ayuk, 8,800. Man, I have a legendary Ayuk Rainmaker card. I'm trying to unload it all week. No one wants it. I don't even want to play it. Obviously you have to play what you have, but it's a really tough matchup. The Chiefs' pass defense is great, especially against number one receivers. And given that Debo is not a conventional receiver, I think Ayuk is going to see L'Jarius Sneed's coverage. And so that's just going to bode poorly for him. 8,800 is too expensive for this type of matchup. If you want to go contrarian, sure, but Ayuk is still owned at 33%, which is I guess it's kind of low for a number one receiver, quote unquote. But still, if you play Ayuk and he fails, that's a third of the lineups that are kaput. So I am just not going to play him. What are your thoughts here?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm going to go with you. I mean, my DFS knowledge is horrible, Walt. So. I mean, I don't know. I feel like every time I turn around, though, this is just from a quacky feel thing or just the eye test. I feel like every time I turn around, though, Ayuk is having a pretty decent game. So I don't know. Just based on that, I might consider him. Based on how the salaries pan out. But otherwise, I don't know. He's always doing something. That the ball at the helmet yesterday. God, I am losing it. 2 weeks ago. Gee, I don't even know where I am anymore. And he was right there to make the cat. I don't know. It's you ever have a team? It's every time you turn around, they're doing the same thing, or maybe with a player. I feel like that with Ayuk here, but I don't know. We'll see. Maybe he'll sneak onto one of my lineups, but I'm not 100% certain yet.
So if you take away that 51-yard catch off the helmet last week, he would have had 2 catches for 17 yards and a touchdown.
Wow.
It's 9.7 fantasy points. It's not great, Bob. I don't like that at all. The week before that, he had 6.2 against the Packers. Another tough pass defense. You saw Jair Alexander, I'm sure, in that game. So yeah, I mean, he's had some big games against the Redskins, 27, but everyone has a big game against the Redskins. 20 against Baltimore, but then you have the 6.7 against Arizona. He's very streaky. You'll have some bad games, he'll have some great games. And given the matchup, I think it's more likely we'll see a bad game, but he could get there in garbage time. Again, this could be if you want to play a scenario where the Chiefs are way up, you could do something we'll get to a lineup like that, but you could have a build like that where the Chiefs have a big lead, the Niners have some garbage yardage at the end, and get the ball to Samuel and Ayuk or whatever. And I don't think I'd place McCaffrey in that build. Next player is Isaiah Pacheco at 8,000. Feels like this is pretty cheap for him. I mean, he's had 18, and 15 in the playoffs. He's had 68 or more rushing yards in every single playoff game. The Niners don't don't play the run well. They are in the bottom half of the NFL in metrics against the run. And Pacheco has been more of a receiver ever since McKinnon got hurt. He's had 4 catches here. He didn't really need to catch the ball in these games. Miami, they were way up. Buffalo, the Chiefs were ahead in the second half as well. We see this here. They were down against the Bengals. He caught 7 passes. Now, McKinnon may be back, but like I said, he's coming off a groin injury. I don't know how much he's going to be used. I don't think he's going to be used that much. So Pacheco is someone I love. I'm going to get to him in most of my lineups. If I'm playing 3 lineups, he's probably going to be in at least 2, maybe 3. What are your thoughts on Pacheco?
I like him a lot, and I have I actually have I think I finally zoned in here on a good lineup where we have Pacheco and McCaffrey potentially.
Okay.
So I think he's going to be highly owned too. I'm gonna say, well, okay. You know what? Actually, I will say under 50%. I'll say under 40% maybe.
He is projected for 43.6%.
Okay. All right. I wasn't too far off. See, I can be taught a little bit. I'm getting better, folks.
You're getting there. Yeah.
For the people scoring at home,
Exactly. Coach Paul's asking 75% of bets on the Chiefs. Thoughts? Actually, I think some of that is sharp money on the Chiefs. The sportsbook manager at the Circa was talking about how they got a lot of sharp money on the Chiefs, and like he tweeted this out. He's like, yeah, if we get 49ers money, it'll be the first time. So it's kind of interesting. He had a similar thought on the Ravens Chiefs game in the AFC Championship, where he's like, yeah, he actually said on Twitter, he's like, we're gonna get killed if the Ravens win. And so yeah, so the Chiefs ended up winning. Because I mean, there was a lot of public money coming in on Baltimore in that game. Anyway, but yeah, some of this is sharp money, some of this public money. So I don't think it's that big of a deal.
Yeah, in the Super Bowl, it doesn't scare me that much either.
Yeah,
I feel like that's one where like I don't really buy into where the public is on the Super Bowl, and it's panned out for me in the past. So
yeah, I think the only time I remember the public being way wrong about a Super Bowl was I can think of 2 instances. One was the Panthers Broncos, where like everyone wanted Cam Newton, 15-1 MVP, and the Broncos won that game because
Let me guess the other one. Can I guess your other one?
Sure.
Rams Patriots, Brady's first Super Bowl.
Oh, that was like way back. I didn't have like public data back then. But Brady was involved in this one. It was the Buccaneers Chiefs Super Bowl, where like everyone was betting Brady. Everyone was betting Mahomes. Sorry, and then the Brady and the Bucs just like stomped on them. So
yeah, and they were at home.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of crazy. The only home team in the Super Bowl, and the public was fading them. It's kind of interesting.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Next player, Rashee Rice. He had an injury designation on Thursday. He was limited, but then he does not have an injury designation anymore. This guy has been so consistent throughout the regular season, multiple 20-point performances. But in the playoffs, ever since this Miami game, he went nuts. He had 30, but then he had 8.7, 12.6. I think people are going to be reluctant to play him. Even though ownership says otherwise, he's just projected for 48.5% ownership. Maybe I'm wrong there, but I don't know. Like whenever I see him, I'm like, he just had 2 bad games. Is anyone going to play him? But I'm on board with playing Rashee Rice. The Niners have some questions in their secondary. Mahomes, it doesn't get sacked, so he's going to be able to find Rice. You know, Mahomes loves going to Rice and Kelsey the most. So I like playing Rice. I don't love it, but I think that, like I said, if I'm playing 3 lineups, he's in 1 or 2 of them, not all 3. But he's not going to be in 0. So like Brandon Ayuk can be in 0. So what are your thoughts on Rashee Rice?
Yeah, I think this might be not the best place to take him. But I mean, look at he does get a lot of targets most of the time. I mean, I guess with what we can see there, it's every other one. And you took the words out of my mouth there. Well, like I feel like he's always like Mahomes is always throwing to Rice now.
Yeah.
So I mean, again, kind of like I said it's like every time I turn around, it's like he has another big play. It seems. So there's that. Again, that's just strictly off the eye test. So I have no like data or anything to back that up. It's just a quacky feeling. So I don't know. I think he's gonna make maybe one of my two lineups as well. But I'm not in love with it. So
okay. All right. Last of the big guns here, George Kittle, 6,400. I mentioned this before that the Chiefs have allowed the third fewest receiving yards to tight ends. And Kittle might have to block a lot in this game. The Chiefs have the number 2 pressure rate in the NFL, get a ton of pressure on the quarterback. Kittle just might be asked to block quite a bit here. So that could hurt him. But then again, like all he really needs is a couple touchdowns, especially late in the game. If he catches a touchdown late, like he gets there. So I'm not opposed to playing him. I thought ownership was going to be a lot higher in him because he's the cheapest of the quote unquote like top players. But he's projected for only 36.8% ownership, which seems pretty low. I was expecting something closer to 50%. So I'm kind of surprised by that, but wouldn't be surprised if that comes in at like 50% anyway. So what are your thoughts on Kittle here?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, obviously, statistically, the matchup is not good for him, but I don't know that maybe he gets 3 targets, but he catches 2 touchdowns too. You know what I mean? So like it's kind of tough to say. What's up, AJ? How's it going? I am indeed. How are you, my friend? Welcome to the show. So I mean, I don't think it's definitely not necessarily a player I'll completely stay away from. Just because of that, he might have, like I said, 3 targets and 2 of them touchdowns. He may not have a lot of yards, but I think he's priced low enough that there's still merit to taking him here. But again, if you're just joining, I would go with Walt's advice over mine when it comes to DFS. So I dabble.
Yeah, Saj says Quack is right. Public sharp split doesn't matter so much in the Super Bowl because everyone is either is going to be place a bet pretty much no matter what. Yeah. I don't think it matters too much. So, all right. So we skip the next guys. The 6,000 players are usually backup quarterbacks. I remember the days when backup quarterbacks used to be a lot cheaper, and then someone would be out, and then it was a free square. So they don't price these guys down anymore. Like even Alua Khan is 6,000. So we have this group together, the kickers and the defenses. So Jake Moody, the most expensive kicker at 5,200, followed by Harrison Butker at 5,000. And then we go defenses. 49ers defense is 4,400. But they haven't had a double-digit fantasy performance since week 15, oddly enough. And then Chiefs defense is the cheapest of the 2 defenses at 3,400. So, like I said before, it is more often than not that you're going to see a kicker or a defense in the winning lineup. And we've had a defense in the captain spot about 7% of the time, kicker in the captain spot 1% of the time. So, with that in mind, what are you doing for kickers and defenses in the Super Bowl?
Well, out of those 4, in one of my lineups, the one I sent you before the show, Walt, I do have the Chiefs defense. Out of those 4, I like the Chiefs defense the most. I can't remember who it was earlier that said, Mahomes is tough to sack, first of all, and I'm going to take Brock Purdy throwing more interceptions than the experienced Mahomes here in this spot. This Chiefs defense is really good too, and I wouldn't be surprised if I think they have a much better chance than the. In my opinion, than the 49ers defense would to get a defensive touchdown too. So out of those 4, I like the Chiefs the most. And I would probably take Moody, the 49ers kicker, if you want to take a kicker. I just think there's probably more likely that and also this is coming from someone who likes the Chiefs in this game. So if you feel differently, obviously you're going to, you might not feel the same way, but I think the Chiefs defense is more likely to put the 49ers in field goal situations than the other way around. So I would go with Moody if I had to pick a kicker. Even though I think Butker's a better kicker, but I think Moody has a chance of having more opportunities.
So here's a counter to that. Like I gave this data out. The winning kicker has been in the lineup about 33% of the time. The losing kicker has been in the lineup 9% of the time. I think the reason for that is because if a team is trailing in the second half, they are more likely to go for it than kick a field goal.
I guess that's true too. Well,
right. And if a team is winning,
I know nothing.
just think about the scenario. If a team is winning and they have a 4th and 4 at the 30, they're probably just going to kick a field goal to put more points on the board. But if a team is losing and they have a 4th and 40 at the 30, like they're going to go for it. So I think it makes more sense to take the kicker from the winning team. Obviously, the Niners could win, but if we think the Chiefs are going to win, I'd rather play Butker than Moody, and Butker is a better kicker anyway, and he's $200 cheaper. If that probably won't matter too much, but it is something.
Once again, for the folks scoring at home, I'm the example of what not to do. So. Oh my God!
All right, ready to go dumpster diving?
I am. I think there's a few players that could make some noise here in the dumpster. So
okay, all right. We started Juwan Jennings, 4,000. He was going to be the most popular player on this slate. When it was like we thought Deebo Samuel was going to be out because he had 5 catches for 61 yards. Everyone was going crazy, but he was barely used because Deebo played. So you have a Juwan Jennings is 4,000. I would strongly recommend not playing him. Okay, next is Elijah Mitchell. Let's do 4 at a time. So rather than go through all of them, Elijah Mitchell, 2,800. He had 6.7 fantasy points here, but still wasn't enough. Like he scored a touchdown, still wasn't in the winning lineup. For 2,800, it's pretty tough. Like he'd have to be cheaper for me to consider him. I can't play Elijah Mitchell. I skipped over Marquez Valdes-Scantling, 30,000. He had last time he cracked 10 fantasy points was week 7, that crazy Chargers game when everyone on the Chiefs went nuts. That was the only time this year he's gone over double-digit fantasy points. He's gone over 6 fantasy points once since that game. He had 8.2 against the Bills. He had 5.8 against the Ravens. I think that he had a 32-yard reception. It was like the final play of the game, I think. So before that, he was just doing nothing. But he is a known quantity. I think people are going to play him. And then the final player in this quartet, Justin Watson, 2,400. I think people are going to play him more than they should because people remember some big games like against the Eagles. Against the Ravens, he had 4 catches, 38 yards, and a touchdown. I know he had a big game against the Eagles, 5 catches, 53 yards, and a touchdown. So he had 2 big games this year. But the problem is that like Valdes-Scantling and potentially Kadarius Toney are going to see snaps over him. So I would stay away from Justin Watson personally. Of this 4, I would rather play MVS the most. But I think a 3,000 is way too expensive for this sort of caliber player. Obviously, you can get there with the touchdown or something, but I think I'd rather go cheaper. So what are your thoughts on these 4?
Well, I always – well, 1 second here. As you might have noticed, my dog's just busted through my door here. Hang on.
Okay. Yeah, so with MVS, I think like he's going to be hurt by Kadarius Toney potentially coming back. We don't know. It wouldn't surprise me at all if like Kadarius Toney is a healthy scratch for this game too. Just like I don't know. Like he practiced fully for the first time. But there have been some like locker room issues with him. And there's no guarantee he's going to play much anyway. But if Toney does see significant action in this game, it could take away from MVS. All right. So Tom, you're back. What are your thoughts on these 4?
I mean,
MVS?
I always think MVS has potential to be a wild card just because of his history of, I thought I did take his over receiving yards, that final play that sent his yardage over. So I was very happy about that. But I always feel like, there's always a chance that he can get, not so much this season as you can see there, but when he was with Green Bay, and I would mention last show, I think it was, or maybe 2 shows ago, that he can be a deep threat. He was in Green Bay. Obviously he hasn't been used that way as much with Kansas City, but at this price, like if he did have one of those like a 60-yard touchdown or something, like now you're he's going to be low. Now you might be in a pretty decent position based on how cheap he is. You're going to have some other big plenty of cap space to put some of the other big boppers in there. So I always keep that in the back of my mind. Even though he has, I've yet to really be correct on it, but it could still happen. Like he does have that potential, even though it is unlikely. So something to consider, but I wouldn't hang my hat on it either. Toney is an interesting play. If I didn't know that there's a chance he could be a healthy scratch, but I just like people have given him crap all year, especially for like the offside, all the passes he dropped early. I could just. wouldn't it be funny if like he just had like a big impact on this game,
Yeah.
sort of thing. That sounds like something that would happen. I don't know, but so I don't know. I am considering Tony as well. In fact, I have him in one lineup, and I have MVS in another. So I will back up what I'm saying here shortly.
Yeah, I mean, it could really go either way. Like I for Tony, like if he gets 4 catches, 40 yards, and a touchdown, I wouldn't be surprised. If he's a healthy scratch, I wouldn't be surprised. So that's something I'd look for. Make sure you look at the inactives when they get released an hour and a half before the game. It wouldn't shock me at all if he's inactive, just because like he missed time due to personal stuff too. So I don't know what's going on with him, but he's had big play potential. And like I think if you count all of his stats as catches, like all of his drops, and turn them into catches this year, like he would have had some big performances. Now I know that like you can't ignore that, but remember Kelsey too. Like Kelsey dropped everything in the regular season, and then he caught fire in the playoffs. What if the same thing happens to Tony? Like, what if he was distracted? What if he was just not paying attention? And now it's the Super Bowl. Like, he's going to be focused if he plays. So I'd kind of be surprised if he drops passes here. So I think that maybe not too surprised. I'm mildly surprised, but still, like I think that like there's potential for him to have a good game at 1,400. He is my favorite of these dumpster dive plays. But like I said, there is potential for 0 inactive.
Right. You know what I think there's potential for, even though he hasn't been out all season. I feel like he could have remember Percy Harvin for the Seahawks? He was out. I think he was out all season. Then he returned the second half kickoff for a touchdown. Like, I feel like Tony could have a Percy Harvin moment. And I think if he has a Percy Harvin moment, like at 1,400, you know what I mean? Like that could really, maybe it could be the difference, at such a low price too. I'm interested to see is there a projection for his ownership?
They don't have him listed. So I assume that Stochastic.
I assume that means he'll be low. They expect him to be low owned.
So I think Stochastic has Mecole Hardman in there right now. I think that they're going to replace him with Tony on Sunday. So like Stochastics, they're going to update their ownership projections. I highly recommend signing up for Stochastic. We have that link in the description. We're affiliated with them. I've been a member of Stochastic since 2019. So if you want to take your DFS play to another level, just definitely consider them. Like I said, they have the most accurate ownership projections. So like I'm curious to see what that's going to be on Sunday. But Mecole Hardman right now is projected for 6.7. So yeah, I think that's going to be Tony. I think Tony about 6-7%. I think that makes sense if he's active.
Yeah, I think so too. But Percy Harvin moment could really send the lineup over the edge. He's in the first lineup. I'll build with you. So we'll see what you think.
So we're asking, is Quacky's dog named Vince, Bart, Brett, Aaron, or Lambo?
None of the above, actually. We've got Piggy, Rio, and Archie are their names. So nice. Yeah, I never even thought to do that. So
so I have a football dog name. My one of my dogs is named Raven. It wasn't after the Baltimore Ravens. We adopted her, and her name was Hayden. My wife's like, I hate that name. We got to change it. Like, and I'm like, she's all black mostly, except a little bit on the nose, but like she's mostly all black. I'm like, well, Raven sounds like Hayden. She's like, oh, I like Raven. So turned out that it was a football name, but it was not really. Coach Paul says, do you think the Chiefs missing Tooney could be exploited in this game? Last game backup played okay. Yeah, Nico Allegretti is a really good backup. I think I'm pretty confident in him. And usually, like, teams can get away with missing one player on the offensive line. And just think to the Eagles in 2017. They were without Jason Peters the entire second half of the year. It was Halipuli Vaitai who playing left tackle for them the second half of the year, and they still won the Super Bowl. So one missing lineman is definitely fine. Once you get to 2 or more, that's where the issues start. Because you have 2 backups, you're shuffling guys around sometimes. But here, Allegretti can do well for Tooney. I don't think it's an issue, especially in the interior. Like the Niners' pressure mostly comes from the outside. All right, so more dumpster diving. Let's go to the next player. Sky Moore, I don't think is he? Yeah, okay. There's a chance. I guess there's a chance he plays in the Super Bowl too, because he's been out since week 15. But yeah, it looks like he was activated from injured reserve. I still wouldn't play him. I mean, he was a second round pick recently. He had a 16-point fantasy performance in week 2. But he's done nothing since. 6.4 here in week 12. This guy always has potential. Like I said, former second round pick recently. But I don't know. He's been out for a while. I don't know. No one's going to play this guy. If you want to take a shot in the dark at 2,000 with a guy who's going to be like 1% owned, you could go with Sky Moore, but I'd rather not. So let's go with a couple more. Noah Gray at 1,800. I think he's going to be highly owned for someone in this range because people see, 2 catches, 3 catches, 3 catches here. I feel like he's going to catch 2 or 3 balls, but they're going to be like for like 10 yards. Now, if he catches a touchdown, he's done that twice. You're going to get there, maybe. But I still wouldn't play him. I think the odds of him hitting are low. And like I said, I think he's going to be highly owned for a player of his caliber. Looks like he's projected for 13.4% ownership. That's way too high for someone who's not talented like Gray. And then we have Mecole Hardman at 1,600. Don't play this guy. He's a bum. So let's just move on. And then the last guy in this range, let's go with Clyde Edwards-Helaire at 1,200. I don't know. Like especially with McKinnon maybe playing, like all of his value is gone, and like he didn't have much value to begin with. You would need to get very lucky for him to get a touchdown. If Pacheco gets hurt, then you're going to get there. But that's where you're banking on. I would not play Edwards-Helaire. So in this range, we touched on Tony. He's my favorite in this range, 1,400. He has big play potential. Like I said, though, make sure he's active. And then after that, I think I would take a shot with Sky Moore over Noah Gray, who's 13.4 is ridiculous ownership for him. So what are your thoughts in this like above $1,000 range?
I'm with you. I wouldn't play any of those guys. I mean, maybe if I had to pick one, maybe Noah Gray. Maybe he could catch, one of those short passes could end up being a touchdown. But I mean, I'm not going to play CEH. Definitely not. I'm not going to touch Hardman or Sky Moore either. So, I mean, I guess, there's a chance they could get a touchdown or something. But like you said, I think you'd have to get really lucky.
Well, I kind of glossed over Hardman. I was making that joke. But like, if like Sky Moore and Kadarius Toney were out, like there is a case for him. Like he almost scored a touchdown against the Bills. But like with Tony and Sky Moore back, like he's just not going to play. It wouldn't surprise me at all if he logs 0 snaps in this game. Or like offensive snaps at least. All right, let's go to the sub 1,000 guys. More dumpster diving here. Kyle Juszczyk, $800. I feel like he's another guy who's going to be too highly owned. Like people know him, they know the name, they want to root for the fullback. He's projected for 6.2% ownership, but I think it's going to be higher. I think it's going to be like 10. Again, it's too high for someone like that. He caught 2 passes for 33 yards. People saw that and they're like, oh, maybe he catches a touchdown. And yeah, that could happen, but like he could also have a 0. He had no touches against the Packers. So I think that's more likely than not. So I would avoid Juszczyk at 800. What's next? Jordan Mason at 600. He's not going to play. He hasn't played at all in the playoffs, so don't worry about him. Richie James at 400. That could get a special teams touchdown or something like that, but that's where you're banking on, especially with the other Chiefs returning. I would not play Richie James. And then we have Jerick McKinnon, $200, $300 for captain, which I'm not captain, but 200. He was activated off injured reserve. Still a game time decision. He could be inactive, a healthy scratch. If he plays at 200, it's kind of interesting, but like I said, he's coming off a groin injury, so that sort of soft tissue injury like tends to linger. He could aggravate it very easily. He could just play 3 snaps. So there is just major downside here. But at 200, you're not risking anything outside of, I guess, leverage. Like if people see this and like he's like 10 or 15% owned, I would not want to be in that camp. But if no one's going to own him, I don't have an issue with it. So what are your thoughts on McKinnon and these other sub 1,000 guys?
Yeah, I mean, hang on. I got a sneeze coming. Sorry. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, McKinnon, I think is the most interesting. Like you said, if he does get a few times, I mean, that's it's literally almost nothing. You know, it could really open you up to, you know, if even if he scored a few points, and you essentially have your entire salary cap for the other 5 spots. I might play around with it for fun, you know, just to see what all you could load in there to a lineup with that much leftover salary for the remaining spots. But I mean, I feel like this is gonna, like, of all the players you mentioned, he's you know, obviously too with the injury. Definitely the most likely in my mind to end up seeing 0 snaps or be a healthy scratch.
Yeah. Brandon's saying, I watched all stream to get advice on Hardman, and my thoughts are confirmed. He's a bum. Yeah.
There you go. Sorry to keep you waiting.
no, really. I mean, like, if those guys weren't playing, like, Hardman would be in consideration. But, like, with Tony and Moore back, like, it's both. Like, it's like, I wouldn't be surprised if Hardman doesn't play at all. Like, he was, man, that was free money, by the way, with Hardman under receiving yards in all 3 playoff games. I bet it twice. I forgot to do it in the Bills game. But, like, his receiving yards prop was like 13.5 or 12.5 in all 3 games. Like, he went way under all 3 times. 0 catches, 0 yards against the Ravens. People are on him because of this Week 18 game. He had 6 catches for 77 yards, but, like, no one played. It was Blaine Gabbert playing with all backups, and, like, Hardman just did whatever he wanted to because he was playing against. Well, first of all, the Chargers were playing their backups too because, like, no one was healthy for them. And, like, the Chiefs are playing their backups. It was basically an exhibition game. So I think people saw that, and, like the sportsbooks juiced up his receiving yards prop. Like, that was the easiest money like we would have seen all year. So yeah, don't chase that. Like, I think people are still chasing that. Don't chase that. McKinnon, sneaky play. Remember last year? Yeah. It's like it's super risky because, like, if he wasn't injured, I would love him. Obviously, he'd be way more money, but, like, still, he'd be in contention to get some catches. But, like, coming off a groin injury, like, he just may not be healthy. So it's a tough one. But, like I said, there's an outside chance that a 0 will be in the winning lineup. That happens from time to time. Even in the NBA, that happens in showdowns sometimes. Like, a 0 will be necessary to have, like, the 5 highest scorers in there. So it could happen. So if you're going to play a 0, McKinnon is definitely the best one because even like, there's a chance he gets 1 or 2 touches and does something with them. So
that's a good point too. Okay, now I'll be playing around with a third lineup maybe.
Stanley saying, hey, Walt and Quacky, I got the Chiefs winning the Super Bowl unless Taylor Swift doesn't show up. Then I got the 49ers in upset. That'd be something if she doesn't show up. That'd be major drama. Can you imagine all this stuff on Twitter? Oh my God, Taylor's not here. Is their relationship doomed? Like,
yeah, she'll be there for sure. I'd say.
Yes, I agree. All right. Do you want to build a lineup here? Maybe a couple lineups and see where we go with this.
Yeah, let me. I've got one here that I've kind of been playing with a little bit since we've been on the show here. Okay. So let me. Okay. So in the captain spot, let's put Pacheco.
Okay.
McCaffrey.
Okay.
Kittle's
in there.
Rashee Rice.
Okay, and then we're down to 6,000 left per player.
Deebo Samuel.
All right, 2,800.
And Kadarius Toney.
There's Toney. Okay, so we have 1,400 left over, which I always recommend leaving 1,000 plus on the table because, you know, if you chop with 100 plus people, it's not even worth playing, really. But, like, if you're going to chop with 20 or so people, you're still going to make money. Actually, if you chop with 30 people and win first place in this, you still win like $57,000 or something, just because, like, the pricing is so flat here. So I think that's okay. And I think this is a lineup that might be duped like 10, 15, 20 times. So yeah, I kind of like this. So this build says, you know, I guess you could say, I think this is a Chiefs have the lead. They get the touchdown with Rice at the beginning, and then Pacheco scores late, and then the Purdy's feeding the ball to McCaffrey and Kittle and Samuel, and then the Tony's just there to get a couple points. So I think from a game flow perspective, I think the sign up is it makes sense.
The thing that maybe I actually don't like, it's like we've got all three of the 49ers big boppers.
Right.
Basically. It's like, are they all going to go off? I mean, I guess they could all score a touchdown and have, you know what I mean? But like,
well, 3 out of the 4 you have at least.
Well, right,
yeah,
right.
No Ayuk, so
position players outside of Purdy, I guess. But yeah, and Ayuk too, I guess. But we don't, we both kind of seem to think that it's likely he won't have a great game. But yeah, I mean, I guess we could switch out some captains too, or I don't know, like swap someone out. Maybe if we went Ayuk instead of Sam Welch, I don't think that's a good idea. But and then we could get some, if you liked MVS, which I like MVS in another lineup, we could pay down for someone else and put MVS in there for Tony in case he's a healthy scratcher or doesn't play much. Then you have MVS who again, doesn't have, what would we say, hasn't broken 8 points in a really long time or 6 points.
Yeah.
But if he's our one punt and he does do something which we know he's capable of, then that might be better off. But I think he'll probably be higher end than Tony. So if I would say I would think so anyhow. So it all depends, I guess, what you think. I guess either could happen. But
no, I like the sign up. I think that one pivot you can make is let's go Tony to McKinnon, and then you have 2,600 left. You can take out Debo and play Mahomes. Now you have 1,200 left over, and you have a 4-2, which I like better. The 4-2 is the most likely 4-2 for the winning side is the most likely result. You have Mahomes there instead of, as you said, instead of 3 big boppers for the Niners, you have 2. And then you have the potential. You have the potential for like Mahomes touchdowns to Rice. Even Pacheco could be a receiving touchdown. And Mahomes throwing to McKinnon as well. I like this correlation better, honestly. But like McKinnon, but again, like McKinnon may just not do anything. So that's that risk as well. So, but yeah, I think that's like a 2v2 that you could do with the lineup that you presented.
What can you wait? How much is Kelsey? Do we have? Could we get? Would you take Kelsey? Put Kelsey in there instead of Mahomes, maybe? Or
yeah, I mean you could do that for sure. Oh, hold on. Yeah, you'll save more money. You'll save 1,600 that way. Yeah, I mean this works too. Yeah, it's still 4-2 Chiefs. And then you're just counting on a lot of you're counting on like Rice and Kelsey to catch a ton of passes, but not really score touchdowns. There may be one touchdown between the two. And like Pacheco, you're rooting for him to score a touchdown. So you're basically like Mahomes is just going to dump the ball off to Rice and Kelsey a ton, and then Pacheco is going to catch touchdowns, or he's going to catch some passes as well. He's going to score his touchdown, and then late in the game, Purdy's going to throw passes to McCaffrey and Kittle, and maybe you'll get a touchdown from one of them or both. So yeah, I think this lineup makes sense too. I think I like this more than the Mahomes build. Not crazy about Mahomes, but I do wonder if there's some negative correlation with having Rice and Kelsey together without Mahomes.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. We've got 3 of their 4 big boppers.
Right.
So yeah.
Yeah, I think that you could build this with Mahomes as well. Or you could put Purdy here too. I mean, like I don't like Purdy as much, but like this is the garbage time situation we're talking about before, where like Chiefs go up big with Rice catching maybe a couple touchdowns, Pacheco getting a couple touchdowns, Niners down big, and then suddenly Purdy has to throw to Kittle and McCaffrey a lot. And by that measure, I think that I would take McKinnon out and put in like Kyle Juszczyk at this point, and like maybe get more catches for Purdy players. So,
yeah, or if you, I guess you could, if you're of the belief that I mean, you could go Hardman or Gray or Moore too. I would still take Gray if you had to. Actually, I like Juszczyk over. I think Juszczyk maybe has more upside than Gray though.
I feel like they both have like pretty low upside. I think Gray's floor is higher, but Juszczyk is $1,000 cheaper too. So there's that. And I think that like if you take this lineup and put in Gray, I think this gets duped a lot. Honestly, there's $200 left over. Like I said, 14%, almost 14% ownership for Gray. I think this lineup is played a lot. So if you just go to Pacheco, save yourself $1,000. Sorry, go to a use check, save yourself $1,000, or even McKinnon, go lower. Like this is gonna be far less owned than the previous one. So, did you want to build another one?
Well, are you gonna build one as well? I don't know.
Okay.
I want to. I don't know. I like the other one I have. I don't know if I want to give up the premium content to the viewers. I don't know. I like the other one because I think we should build one too, like with one of the defenses.
Okay. Stanley saying, I think this is going to be a game Brock Purdy throws multiple interceptions because he got away with drop picks in the Detroit game. But again, Kansas City, that is a stout secondary. It will be picked. Yeah. I love the Brock Purdy over 1.5 or over a half an interception. That's one of my favorite props. So we're definitely on the same page there, Stanley. 1777 says, what's up, Walter Football? Chiefs got no shot. It's over. The Niners already won. I would love to know why. Please let us know. But anyway, let's build a couple more lineups. This is a build I was thinking about. McCaffrey solo San Francisco lineup, where McCaffrey does all the usage for San Francisco because the Chiefs have a great secondary. So you could put like McCaffrey captain. We could switch him to flex if this doesn't work, but I just want to try him a captain. So McCaffrey with all the other Chiefs players. You have Kelsey, Pacheco, Rice, Chiefs defense, and Kadarius Toney. This fits 1,400 left over. I want to experiment with putting McCaffrey at flex, but this says McCaffrey does everything for the 49ers, and then these guys all catch passes, all catch touchdowns. Chiefs defense does something. I'm not sure how I love this build. I think I'd rather have in this sort of build. I think I'd rather have Harrison Butker because if the Chiefs score defensively, then like their players aren't going to do as much offensively. Yeah. So to get there, let's put Kelsey a captain, and McCaffrey in the flex. Now we have 2,300 left over, and we could put in Butker. We have 700 left over. It's still a 5-1, which hits more often than 2-4. Yeah, what are your thoughts on something like this? I was considering this. Not sure if I'm going to do it, but like a 5-1, Kansas City, San Francisco, where McCaffrey just does everything.
Yeah, I like that. That's one of my. I have a lineup like that too. What about how much was? I mean, what if we did? Can you take out Butker, put Chiefs defense back in, and then? Okay, now maybe you could go MVS instead of Toney.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, still 700 left over. It's just a 2v2. So the reason why I just don't want Chiefs defense in this sort of build, because like I said, if the Chiefs defense scores a touchdown, then you just give more possessions to the Niners. And so like that's gonna be more opportunities for San Francisco players to do something. So that's why like a 5-1 build, I think I'd rather have Butker in there. Personally.
Yeah, fair enough. That's a good point.
Yeah.
I do like Chiefs defense. I
like Chiefs defense too. Let's build a lineup with Chiefs defensive captain. Like what would this look like? So I'll let you pick next, but like the one thing I would say correlates the most with Chiefs defensive captain is Pacheco.
Purdy. Oh, okay. I was going to say Purdy too. Maybe if you think he's going to throw a lot.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, definitely. So Purdy in there. And then where do you want to go? Well, like I feel like you want to include Purdy's weapons, obviously. So where do you want to go with this?
I think we got to put Samuel in there.
Samuel, okay. Now the question is, let's see what we can do with McCaffrey.
Yeah,
put in McCaffrey. We have 5,700 left over. That is.
Where does that leave us? Like I feel like we need another Chiefs player here. Is the thing.
Really? I feel like if you have defensive captain, I don't think you need too many players on that same team. Actually, kind of curious to see what those lineups look like. Here, okay, so lineup with a winning defense. They had their top receiver, top running back as well, but the other team had losing quarterback, losing top receiver, losing second receiver.
Okay.
Okay, winning defense with a winning running back and second running back. The other team had losing defense, which is weird. Losing running back, losing top receiver. So that's number 2. Forgive me as I scan this. Okay, so winning defense with winning running back, winning kicker, winning top receiver, with losing top receiver, losing running back. So yeah, I guess you could have another Chiefs player, I suppose, with that formula. Here's another one. Okay, this is a 5-1. Winning defense with winning running back, winning quarterback, winning top receiver, winning second receiver, and the other player was losing top receiver. Let's see. Okay, winning defense with winning top receiver, winning second receiver, winning running back, winning second running back, and then losing top receiver. This is a 33. This is a 33-0 game.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you know what would be interesting, like, if you kept the winning defense and special, like the Seahawks Super Bowl, they had 2 defensive and special teams touchdowns, or one of each. Like, I guess if you thought the game was going to go maybe that way, like then you'd have top receiver, like who else did really well in that? You know what I mean? Like that kind of blow up. But you said that one was 33-0.
Yeah.
Did you? So yeah, okay. I mean, I guess if you thought the game was going to go similar to, if it would look like that, that's how you build it. But
and I'm looking at like all these results with winning defense as a captain. Most of them are blowouts. So there was a 16-10 game, a 15-6 game. I guess it could go that route. But this 26-3 game was winning defense with winning running back, winning second running back, and winning quarterback, and then losing running back, losing top receiver. So if you play this out to be a blowout, I think it's crazy to have Clyde Edwards-Helaire in there too as your dumpster diving play. But so here, like McCaffrey kind of restricts this. We can't get any of the top players. So if we take out McCaffrey and put in Kittle, for example, we could put in anyone else except for McCaffrey. So this could be Kittle, this could be Mahomes or Kelsey or Ayuk or Rice. You put in Kelsey to have 1,100 left over. If you really want to have a unique lineup, you put in Rice here at 3,700 left over. Like this is probably a unique lineup. Like probably no one has this. So it's kind of interesting, right? It's a place to this is like let's just say like here. Yeah, like Rice catches an early touchdown and has some more receptions. Chiefs get a defensive touchdown. Pacheco runs in a touchdown late, and he gets more carries in the second half. And then in garbage time, Purdy throws to Samuel Kittle the most. Like this, I think this is a logical lineup. That's not going to be played at all, or maybe it will be now that people are looking at it. But
yeah, we've changed the whole course of
right. Yeah, so I think that this is a pretty good lineup. I think for defensive captain lineup.
I like it too. Yeah, I might mess around. I think one of my lineups for sure is going to have the Chiefs defense in it. I mean, maybe as a YOLO, I'll do one as a captain. I mean, I definitely think there's merit to the what you just described. I think the game could play out the way you just described. So, I mean, all of these are long. How did you just say it's like hitting like a 6-team or 7-team parlay in a way?
Yeah, I mean this is this is a 6-game parlay you have to nail perfectly, and people could still have your same parlay and you could tie with them. It's tough to win these. There's 400. How many entries in this? There's 470,000 entries in this. So like, if you play one of these every week, like in your lifetime, you're not expected to win. So just keep that in mind. But obviously you can play more than one lineup. But still, it is very difficult to win one of these. That's why I like playing the lower pools, like the $100 spy. There's only 2,700 entries in that. So what I do is like I'll play the spy and then I'll toss that into the milli, just in case, But if it's like super chalky, then I'll make like a change that'll be like lesser owned. But like generally I'm not like super chalky anyway. So Yeah, so we have some explanation here from 1777. He says it's too much to get into, but Kansas City is probably the weakest team in the conference championship games. If they win, they're going to need a lot of help from the refs. I just don't see the refs coming through for them this time. It's too much to lose for the NFL. It's going to be a high-scoring game, man. Super Bowls, usually lots of points. 49ers going to score on them, man. Chiefs defense had a tough time versus Josh Allen, man. I mean, it's most teams will have a tough time against Josh Allen. I don't think that's saying much, right? But like Lamar Jackson couldn't do anything against the Chiefs defense. And not all Super Bowls are high scoring. Remember that Patriots Rams game? That was
13-3.
13-3, right? And like that was such a slog. Like there are other Super Bowls that are low scoring. Like these are two good defenses. Chiefs have a great defense. I think of the four units, I think the Chiefs defense is probably the best unit of the four. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, and you said that the Chiefs are the worst team for the conference championship weekend. I think the Niners were. Like they were losing to the Lions by 17 in the third quarter. So John saying if you want to be unique, start Sam Darnold. Yeah,
that's funny. I was thinking about like what do you think? Like if you started Sam Darnold and then got, obviously we would never wish for any player to get hurt, and then, if Purdy went out early, I mean, do you think your lineup is almost, I mean, I don't want to, obviously not guaranteed, you know what I mean, to do well, but, I mean, assuming he doesn't have like a Nathan Peterman sort of outing.
The problem with that is like, not only do you need the injury, you also need Sam Darnold to play well. If he comes in and has like 11 fantasy points, which is like, pretty realistic for Darnold, he's still not going to be in the winning lineup. He's not like $200 or even $1,000.
Right,
he's 6,000. That's like 400 less than Kittle. So like you need him to score into the teens for you to win. And so like the odds of that are just astronomical.
Yeah,
I know it happened in the past. So like Baker Mayfield came in and was in the winning lineup. That's so rare. I just wouldn't go there. But I think also like too many people are going to do it. Like even if like 0.1% of the people doing it, like I feel like that would happen because like people would have that same sort of thought. That's still going to be like 470 lineups that you just still have to compete with. So I wouldn't go there. But it's an interesting thought. It's just like the backup quarterbacks are just way too expensive.
Yeah, if he was like McKinnon priced or something, then that would be completely different, I think.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I totally agree with that. 77 Cents says, yeah, but I mean that 5 years ago, all bowls that have been a lot of points. Lions are a good team. I agree with that. Lions would beat Kansas City. I agree with that too. I think the Lions match up well against Kansas City. We'll see, assuming you go Kansas City to lift the Lombardi. Yeah, Lamar Jackson overrated. Should have been Josh Allen. MVP should have been Josh Allen. I think MVP should have been Mahomes, personally. But first 2018 first round quarterback drafted to make the Super Bowl. Man, that's pretty depressing.
Wow,
that's pretty sad, but true. Wow. Yeah. Cassandra says, why do the books juice up these backup quarterbacks DFS? Does it affect the bottom line at all if people win at them? So like they used to price them down. And the problem though is like if there was an injury to the starting quarterback, suddenly everyone is going to play a $200 Darnold. And so instead of a 6-team lineup, you basically have a 5-man lineup. And so like there's just so many duplicates at that point. Like imagine if like this like DK was five players instead of 6. You'd have way more duplicates. Like you'd have it'd be so rare to see a unique winner. So like that's why it's just not fun. Like if Purdy gets hurt in pregame warmups like an hour before the game, like Darnold at $200 would be like 100% owned. Every single player in DFS would have him.
Right.
If he's 6,000, so like let's just say Purdy gets hurt in pregame warmups, he's out. Like at Darnold at 6,000, like you're probably playing, but like you at least have some thoughts about it, like some second thoughts about it, because like the Chiefs defense is great. Like Darnold is probably going to score like 11, 12 fantasy points. And is that going to be enough? Like probably not. So like if I were told that like Darnold's going to start and everyone had that knowledge, I probably wouldn't play him. I'd probably fade him at 6,000. So that's
yeah. No, I'm with you on that.
Yeah.
I think so too. I think that reasoning makes sense too. That's exactly what would happen if he was even if he was priced at like 1,000 or something. But
yeah, and he said, but does it cost say DK money? Does DK need to pay out a bunch of dupes? So no, I mean DK will make money. They basically print money at this rate. But no, it doesn't affect the bottom line directly. But if you have contests where it's just not fun to play and there are so many duplicates, then people may not want to play in the future, and so you're going to have fewer customers long term. It's like that. I feel like that's the way it affects the bottom line. So
yeah.
not directly, but in the long term.
Well, you didn't think you were gonna get free business lessons on the show now, did you? That's well put. That's well put.
I am a business owner.
Yeah. I guess I'm an entrepreneur in my own mind. So we're
two entrepreneurs here. Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, it's smart business going forward. Yeah. What else do we have here? Mahomes, remember, it's regular season MVP. Mahomes had some bad regular season losses to be MVP. Yeah, but I mean, think about how bad the supporting cast was this year. Mahomes had them as the number 3 seed. Like what he did, like I said this before, like statistically not there, but just think about like what he did to kind of salvage some games and like put the team on his back, just to get him to the 3 seed. Like I think that was really impressive. I would have made MVP personally, but I also don't think the MVP should be a regular season award. I don't see why that should be the case. But anyway, and then he says, "You've seen that this game is the most gambled bet game in history." Yeah, I think we're more than 1 million bets. Let me see for sure. I think we are. Yeah, we crossed 1 million bets for this game. It's kind of nuts. Yeah, 26 billion is the number they said, but imagine it gets much higher than that. Yeah, one more than 1 million bets, but yeah, it's kind of insane how much money there is in this game, and that's just 1.1 million bets is just on the sides and totals, like not even the props. So, just think about that. And it's like DK, FanDuel, like anyone as a sports book is printing money at this point. John says, if you come back from the dead, you should have at least play 30% of defensive snaps to win comeback player of the year. Yeah, this is something I saw on Twitter. Not everyone, but a lot of people were complaining about Damar Hamlin not winning comeback player of the year. Like he barely played. He was a healthy scratch, like in like 75% of games. Like he had that one gimmicky play that they tried against the Chiefs in the playoffs, but like I feel like that was the only time I saw him play.
I think so. I felt the same way.
Like he did not come back. He was able to take the field sometimes, but I feel like he didn't truly come back. And so say next year, if he plays defense and he has like some stats, you could name him comeback player of the year next year. But like not this year. He didn't play. So
yeah, I agree. I mean, for him to actually be on the field this year is tremendous. But I mean, he really didn't have any impact really on any of the games it seemed. He played so little. So I feel like what he, the fact that he's even out there is tremendous, but he doesn't meet the criteria almost in a way.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. So.
Yeah, I agree. Stanley saying, why is the 49ers favored by 2 points? And 77 says, well, they're the number 1 seed. They should be favored. Yeah, the Niners have been inflated on the spread. They were favored by 10.5 against the Packers. That was way too high. They're favored by 7.5 against the Lions. Is way too high. I think this is way too high as well. 77 asks, when is the last time an underdog won the Super Bowl? Well, the Buccaneers were underdogs to the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. If you're going to go a little bit before that, the Eagles were underdogs against the Patriots. They won the Super Bowl. Weren't the Eagles were favored, weren't they, against the Chiefs last year? Or was it? What am I thinking? Like, what was it? Do you remember what that line was? I can look it very quickly. That line was Eagles by 1. Yeah. So last year's your answer. Chiefs beat the Eagles last year as 1 point underdogs.
Were the Panthers favored over the Broncos?
Oh yeah. It was like, what was it, -3.5 or something? I know we got a key number there. I could tell you 1 second. I think it was like, I want to guess it's like -4.5. Let me see. No, it was 6. Wow, it was 6.
Panthers were -6.
Panthers are -6. Yeah.
Wow.
I love the Broncos in that game. I remember that.
Yeah, I took the Broncos in that game too. That was 1777. You're saying that they're always high scoring games. That's not necessarily like that Broncos Panthers game. That was really low scoring too. Even we're going back a little. These are coming to mind. Think about like that 17-14, the undefeated Patriots loss against the Giants.
Mm-hmm.
That game was 10-3 10-7 in the fourth quarter.
Yep.
So, usually there are more fireworks, but, in higher scoring games, I feel like. But so there's definitely merit to what you're saying, but it's not always the case.
Yeah.
So
Vic always killed it as a home dog.
Oh, my gosh. Oh, geez. Put him in.
Nice one. All right, I guess that's about it. Unless you want to build another lineup, but I think we've kind of exhausted this.
Yeah, giving me some stuff to think about too. I'll be sending you my lineups tomorrow before the game because I know you won't have anything else going on before the game, with your job. Right. So I figure you can I can text you.
Oh yeah, like with the kids and everything like that. Yeah, like nothing going on here.
So
yeah, but. Yeah, no, thanks so much, guys, for watching and commenting. Really appreciate it. Thanks so much, Tom, for coming on. It's great to do another show with you. I think we broke everything down, and I hope that you or I or someone watching this is going to win the $1 million on DraftKings. So
yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
so if you don't see, I don't know if we're going to do a show next week. I don't know if you've got draft stuff or whatnot, but I was going to say if you don't see this on the show ever again, one of us won. So
ever again's a long time. Like I had this conversation with some, I don't want to name who it was, but he was like hypothetically saying like, he's like, hey, if you won the $1 million in the super contest, like would you quit your job? I'm like I know $1 million, like, don't get me wrong, it would be amazing, but like it's, if you think about it, like, so I'm 41, so within the next 40 years, if you divide $1 million by 40 years, that's $25,000 a year. Like, especially with inflation, that's not enough to go off of, just by itself.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can take a couple years off, or just you'll have opportunities, obviously, and it'll solve a lot of problems. Like you pay off all your bills and like buy a house. Like it would be amazing to win that, but like to retire off of that, you just can't. Like it just doesn't work financially. Now, if you're like 65, you don't need that. Like you don't have that much longer. Like you have 20 years instead of 40. Right. Then it's a different thing. But for 40 years, $1 million, it doesn't work. Plus, remember taxes. Like the government will steal half your money, so it's really $12,500 a year. So yeah, you can't really. Yeah, so he says that's not even enough to buy a house in California, which is true.
Right. Well, I don't think that I would. I would definitely take some time off, but I would use the money that I make to continue. Like I wouldn't work my regular job. I make a little bit of money from the things that I do already with streaming. Not enough to support myself on that alone. But I think if I put that money into what I'm doing, it wouldn't feel like work. Maybe that's how you feel to some extent with what you do, but you also enjoy it. But I think that's what I would do, but I wouldn't work like my 9 to 5 anymore if I won the $1 million, I would say. So, or at least not for a couple of years, I think I'd give it a shot. I'd put all my money, I'd get the best equipment, great cameras, and just be able to devote all my time to doing the fun things like streaming and developing a YouTube channel and everything like that, and just kind of give myself more opportunity to make more, or at least enough that'll keep me afloat, and then I can live off the rest of the $1 million or whatever it is after taxes.
Yeah, no, you're totally right. Like you still have to work, but you could do things you liked, and you wouldn't have to do the job that you don't want to do.
Actually, yeah. So it's actually the opposite. If I'm home here every night, then I won the $1 million. Because I just feel like, hey, what are you guys up to?
Yeah, I feel like you'd be bored after a while. You just want to hang out, like and just
yeah.
Or you could sink all your money into AMC stock and watch Adam Aaron dilute your finances into oblivion. I have experiences with that. So yeah, it's a rough scene. Walking to work like Rodney Dangerfield in Caddyshack. Yeah, definitely. You just have some fun with your life. Talking about, look, man, it's 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. now. Yeah. love Rodney Dangerfield's the best. I love him in that what was that movie called? Back to School or something, where like where he's in the classroom and the professor's teaching stuff, and he's like this doesn't make sense. He's like, no, you can't do this. You have to do this and this and this, and like the students all start taking notes from Rodney Dangerfield because like he was actually in business rather than the professor. Like it was so funny.
I had my late great uncle Fred looked and very much sounded like Rodney Dangerfield. Like everyone would say that about him. It was uncanny. I would describe it as uncanny. He was my great uncle Fred, but looked and sounded like him too. Not 100, but like it was close. Like he would get mistaken as for Rodney Dangerfield.
That's awesome. So, yeah, he was late. He was like a late bloomer in his career. Like he really took self-deprecation to a new level. So
yeah. No, what a legend though.
Yeah, he was great. So anyway, thanks guys for watching once again. Please hit like, subscribe, comment below, share this video. Visit the link in the description from the merch store. All that would mean a lot to us. Once again, please hit subscribe. We're close to 4,000, so we're almost there. Tom, do you want to plug anything, like maybe your Twitch channel?
Yeah, let's get the Twitch on there. I'm going to be on in maybe half an hour after the show here, after we sign off. So I'm working on I started speed running those Mario Kaizo hacks. One called Smoke Fish and Cabbage. I beat it in 6 minutes and 40 seconds. It's a beginner hack. It's a really good hack. But yeah, my second try, I got it in 6:40. And now I'm playing another hack called the sequel to it, Smoke Fish and Cabbage 2. I just started it today and I'm ripping through it pretty well. So I'll be back on there tonight. Looking forward if you want to join QuackyT there on Twitch or Twitter. And if you're on TikTok, though, as I said on Thursday, as with each passing day, I'm getting more and more tired of TikTok. But at QuackyT on there, would love to have you guys on the stream, and it's just good fun hanging out and playing games in the background. So, but thanks everyone for being here. Appreciate all the support.
Yeah, I'll tweet it out when you go live. I'll pop in and have some comments as well. So if you guys want to join, that'd be awesome. Yeah, like I said, I'll be in there. By the way, before we head out, I found a new challenge for you for video games, which I discovered. Now you like to play your Kaizo hacks, which are very challenging. I think something more difficult is because I set up the Super Nintendo down here in my basement. TVs for those you can't see it, but TV's right there. So my son, who's very much into Mario now because he watched the movie, he always wants me to turn on the Super Nintendo and just watch me play either Mario or Mario Kart. And I used to actually, not to brag or anything, I used to be the world record holder for Chocolate Island 1 in Super Mario Kart for the Super Nintendo. That was a long time ago when I was like 12. Yeah. But now I have this added challenge where I have two kids. So my son likes to watch me play, but I'm holding my daughter as I play. And my daughter is now almost 6 months old, and she tries to grab the remote from me. And like, this is the most difficult video game playing I've ever had in my life, where like I'm trying to beat levels of Mario Kart and my daughter is like trying to grab the remote as I'm doing this. And like, she almost had me like quit a level because like she like press start. And, like I would have to like squirrel off the road because she like she presses the left button. Man, it is so tough. Yeah. So like,
yeah, it's like you have to dodge. You have things to dodge in real life in addition to the game. So yeah, that sounds even more difficult than Kaizo. You should start streaming some games. You should stream some games, Walt. Man, you are very talented at several games. So
I'm out of practice, but I have some cool achievements gaming wise. But it's been a long time. I feel like I'm out of practice. I would need to practice my video game playing before I did that. The problem is, like with two kids, I don't get time to play video games really. But maybe in the future I will.
You pick it up quicker than you think. I mean, I've only really been playing games. I mean, I played games when I was younger, but I wasn't that like, I've only like been a serious like video game player for like 7-8 months now. So I mean, and I'd like to think that I picked it up I mean, I did mediocre gameplay, top tier conversation, but I have my moments. So I bet you pick it up quicker than you think. But I mean, the time, not having time is certainly a factor as well. So
yeah, it's rough, but yeah, I think you're right. I think it's it's kind of like riding a bike. But I was pretty ashamed of my Mario Kart play. Like even like when my kids went to bed, I'm like, oh, let me play through this. Like the 100 yards, the 100 GP circuit. For the, I think it was like star level. I like I didn't even finish it. And like, but I was like, I was like, I was so angry. I was like, screw this. And then the next time I won the gold. So like I did get better, but like it took me a little bit to get back into the flow of things. Kind of forgot some stuff.
Yeah. No, you pick it up quicker than you think. But.
Yeah. All right. Anyway, yeah. Once again, guys, thanks for watching. Have fun watching the Super Bowl. Good luck with all your bets. I hope someone wins $1 million on here. If you do, at least pop in and let us know about it and talk about your lineup. But anyway, yeah. Good luck to everyone, and well, I'll be back on Tuesday with Jacob to recap the Super Bowl and talk about Super Bowl 59 props. So looking forward to that. So yeah, Tom, once again, thanks, and I'll talk to you guys later.
All right. See everyone later.